Today, if you ask me, give me one thing why people are falling sick, I will say their digestion is going wrong. We've become less active. We've become more sedentary because of that. We are eating more than what is required. We are eating the wrong food. We are putting such a lot of pressure on our body and on our digestion. And that is the root cause, I will say, of all diseases, and which Ayurveda has picked up so many years back, because in the first Adhyaya itself it has said that when you are treating, you are doing Kaya Chikitsa, you are treating the Agni of the patient.
How does our body go from a state of Prakriti to Vikruti where there's imbalance?
In Kathopanishad, there is a dialogue between Nachiketa and Yam. So Yam tells Nachiket that now you have come here, then listen to one thing. Always do what is Shreyaskar, never do what is Preyaskar. Priya, whatever apne ko hota hai, don't do that. It's so easy to drink a coffee with sugar, tastes nice with cream and all. It's so difficult to drink a black coffee or a coffee along with milk but without sugar.
Ayurveda can help heal the mind, body and spirit in ways you can possibly never imagine. In fact, there are many Ayurvedic techniques that are not even present in modern medicine. And that is why on today's podcast, we have Dr. Niyati Chitalia. She has been practicing Ayurveda for 30 plus years and has written 7 books on parenting and Ayurveda. And we are going to decode how Ayurveda can help heal the body, how Ayurveda can help heal the gut and any kind of imbalances in our body. Dr. Niyati, I am beyond interested to know about Ayurveda because, we know a lot about, say, modern medicine, but maybe sometimes our ancient traditional practices can be forgotten and they shouldn't be forgotten.
Yes.
And I really want you to take us to how Ayurveda really started, the history of Ayurveda, because as I said in my intro as well, there could really be no one better than you to talk about Ayurveda, how it can help heal our body. And so I want you to take us to the beginning, how did it start, and then what is the real core and essence of Ayurveda?
So, like the name itself suggests, Ayurveda. That means a science of life. So then how did it originate? So Veda means it's a part of the Vedas only. So we know the 4 Vedas. Atharva Ved, a part of Atharva Ved is Ayurveda.
Okay.
Okay. So it has a proper textual, it's properly texted out and everything has been described properly. So basically what people think that diseases and cure is Ayurveda. It's not that. See, our life itself, if it's perfect, then I won't have any diseases only, na?
Yeah.
So it focuses more on prevention of diseases rather than later diseases.
Okay.
So there are a few chapters which tell you how you should live, get up in the morning at what time, seasonal changes in our diet, seasonal changes in our lifestyle. And it's more, it's in today's world where we are having so many lifestyle diseases, Ayurveda becomes much more easier to follow because, okay, I just need to do this change in my life. Okay, Ayurveda says this, so I can do that, and then I can connect to it. So because it's the Vedas, it has come from the ancient rishis, the knowledge. Then it passed on through oral tradition. During a certain time, it was then also tabulated.
Okay.
So Charakacharya was supposed to be the first one who tabulated this. But again, he said that don't stop with me. Life is going to go on. So there will be so many other diseases. There will be so many other changes in the person, because even the doses of certain medicines that are given in Ayurveda cannot be used today. Because probably those people were much taller than us and maybe bulkier or they worked out more or whatever. So we need to even reduce those doses considering today's lifestyle, today's people. So we call it virya. Like what is a person's virya? Then what is a person's mindset? Then we have to reduce the dose accordingly.
Okay. And what you said was so interesting, right? It talks about number 1, prevention of diseases.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. What does Ayurveda really talk about prevention of diseases? And if we were to apply that to the modern world where we are falling sick so often, How can we prevent that using Ayurveda?
Yeah. So see, now what has happened is our lifestyle has become so fast, especially in the metropolis. We can't tell people that, get up and do exercise and do this and do that. So I have started telling after COVID, there has been a slight change because there has been hybrid work. So many people are working from home sometimes and working outside. That helps. But even in that, people need to understand that you need to have some space for yourself. So there is a saying in Hindi, Sar Salamat to Pagdi Pachas. So we need to think at the moment that what is exactly important, especially as today India is the capital of diabetes. And diabetes is a number one lifestyle change disease. If you just change a little bit, you can reverse it and get rid of it. So we need to make those changes. So what is it? Dinacharya and Rutucharya and Vega Vidharan are the three main adhyayas in Charak which people need to focus on. Even students, I tell them, focus on these three adhyayas. Dinacharya, as the word says, Dinacharya, what you should do in the day. So very simply, we know that we have to wake up at Brahma Muhurta, right? Everyone says Brahma Muhurta ko utna chahiye, this and that. But what is that Brahma Muhurta? When I sat thinking, when I went for Ayurveda, I realized Brahma Muhurta is about 45 minutes before sunrise. Okay, we do get up. Many of the women do get up to prepare dabbas and this and that.
Yeah.
But at that time, what is your mindset? Have you got up with peace? Or have you got up with that agitation that I need to do this, I need to do that, with that, the mind is sort of, revolting against it, ki nahi karna hai, but I've got to do it. Don't get up like that. Get up with a happy mindset. After getting up, do some exercise. See to it that your bowel is clear. Now here also many people ask me that we get up at 6 o'clock, but we don't have the urge to go to the toilet. So what, but then I ask him, the whole process begins at night.
Yeah.
What time you're eating your food, what time you're going to bed, then the digestion will be okay, right? So for that to wake up in the morning, you need to sleep early. So I was thinking, what happens in our body at Brahma Muhurta? And I've realized that our body releases iron and calcium into the bloodstream. This is simply put, the technical terms I'm not using. Iron and calcium is released into our blood at Brahma Muhurta. That's why when you wake up, you feel a zeal, a zest to do work, to finish off. See, we're more fresher.
Yes.
As afternoon, we are a little dull. Night, we're more dull. So that is the reason. Now, another reason is why should we sleep early? Because our body releases all hormones at night.
Okay.
But for that, we should be asleep. And Brahma Muhurta, for the release of calcium and iron, we should be awake. If we are sleeping, that doesn't happen. And if we are awake at night, the hormones do not circulate.
Okay.
That is the reason today maximum girls are suffering from PCOD. Because the hormone release doesn't occur. Most of them are awake at night. I ask anybody, 12:01 is your sleeping time, and the time for the hormone release has gone away and you were awake at that time. So just imagine, this is a small change. But if you can do it, then it's nothing like it. You've got the key to a good life.
And so maybe that is why people are falling sick so often, because everybody is doom scrolling till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, and they're not really getting that good amount of sleep, right? And we're talking about why people are falling sick. According to Ayurveda, can you really distinguish? I'm sure when a patient comes to you, you can tell if they are healthy versus unhealthy, why they are. So how do you really distinguish, say, a healthy person from an unhealthy person? Because more often than not, we don't even know what we are doing is very unhealthy.
Exactly. So, Ayurveda says that you can diagnose by darshan, sparshan, prashna. Means many people feel that Ayurveda is only Nadi Pariksha. It's not like that. Nadi is one. Sparsha Pariksha is Nadi Pariksha. But we also darshan, when the person comes, not only an Ayurvedic doctor, I'll tell you, any doctor can diagnose as soon as you see the patient that this person is sick with what. I'll tell you a joke that I travel by train. I live in a village sometimes. So usually I take the train. So when I take the train, my husband and I both are Ayurvedic doctors.
Okay.
So we are sort of, this person has got worms, this person has got this. We are sort of, all the time.
You can really
just signaling each other, worms, this is that, So because by the gait, by their, children, how they're talking, they're hyperactive, they've got certain marks on their face that tell us that they've got worms. So we are sort of, in that mode all the time. Any doctor you will see, and especially if it's a doctor family, then they're all talking about this only.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in a doctor family and I used to think in childhood that everyone is sick only because I've never seen a normal person ever, So that is the psychology of a doctor. And very nicely explained in Ayurveda, because Ayurveda also takes the help of our spirituality. So we have a subject when we are studying Ayurveda, it's called as Padartha Vinyan, which is philosophy.
Okay.
So in which we have to study all the Darshan Shastra also. Because many of the students don't understand ki why we have this Sankhya Darshan or Nyaya Vaisheshika. Ayurveda is based on Sankhya, Nyaya and Vaisheshika Darshan. So why do they write all this, that a person, like why is Sankhya Darshan all into the Ayurveda? But then, if a person comes to me, say 21, in the height of youth, and then they have diagnosed with a certain disease, maybe a terminal disease.
Yeah.
The parents have a question, why my child? It's very easy to explain. If you know philosophy, it's very easy to explain to the parents and get them settled, accept the disease,
Yeah.
because they've said aniyatayu, niyatayu. Niyat means nishchit. So every person is born with a nishchit ayu.
Okay.
They tell us that the world is mathematically correct. So whatever is happening to you has been destined, it is going to happen to you. So if you know, okay, because this is destiny, you accept at least a part of it. At least you don't reject it or you don't revolt and you don't, go into denial or anything. You accept and then you start treating it.
Okay.
So it's so much into depth,
Yeah.
In that is the third adhyaya which I told you, Vega Vidharan. Very difficult to understand from the words. Vega Vidharan. Vega means impulses.
Okay.
So impulses of the body. You want to go to the bathroom. Don't hold it. Go. So there are 13 bodily impulses and 6 mental impulses. So bodily impulses never control, but mental impulses always control. And not only just control, don't allow them to rise. So Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsar. These are the 6 mental, the impulses. You have to curb them. So if you teach your children only not to get angry, to be satisfied with what you have, so the impulses will not come only, na? So that it becomes an Ayurvedic way of living.
Yeah.
So if like I've been practicing for the past almost 40 years, so all my patients, their children have grown up with this, with the Ayurvedic medicines and the Ayurvedic way of thinking. Because when they come, we explain a little bit to them, the children also, if they're naughty, we tell them, do this, be naughty in the house, outside have your best behavior. And so, they've grown up with that.
Yeah. But then again, why do you think people are falling sick so often? We know it's the environment, we know everything, but we're talking about something, you're saying destiny also.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to know a little bit more about that. From an Ayurvedic perspective, why are people falling sick so often? And, we're questioning why is that young people are also falling sick today?
See, the first adhyay of any book in Ayurveda is called as Sutra Sthan. First sthan. It has got 30 adhyayas mostly inside it. And in the first adhyay, it tells you that Ayurveda किसकी चिकित्सा करता है? तो Ayurveda kaya की चिकित्सा करता है. Okay? Kaya means in Sanskrit, in Hindi and everything we know body. But kaya has another meaning. Kaya also means your Agni or your digestive power. So today, if you ask me, give me one thing why people are falling sick, I will say their digestion is going wrong. But just one focus. We've become less active. We've become more sedentary because of that. We are eating more than what is required. We are eating the wrong food. We are putting such a lot of pressure on our body and on our digestion. And that is the root cause, I will say, of all diseases, and which Ayurveda has picked up so many years back, because in the first adhyaya itself, it has said that when you are treating, you are doing Kaya Chikitsa. You are treating the Agni of the patient.
Okay.
So simple. Now, Agni, when they say, like the Sanskrit old people, we know Patanjali Yoga Sutra and the Brahma Sutras, and they speak very little. So in that Agni now, there are 13 Agnis. So which 13 Agnis? We know Pancha Mahabhut. So the 5 Mahabhut ke 5 Agni, our body has got Saptadhatu ke 7 Agni. So those are the 13 Agni and your main Jatharagni.
Okay.
So in Bhagavad Gita also in the 15th Adhyayaham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha. So that Vaishwanar or Jatharagni is your main Agni. But along with that, these other Agnis are there. So now see, I told you why people are putting on weight. So the Dhatu is Meda Dhatu. So the Meda Dhatu Agni becomes very powerful. So the Jatharagni, the main Agni, will digest the food, but then it has to make plasma, it has to make blood, it has to make bones, it has to make muscles. But Meda says, no, I want everything. So its Agni is very powerful. So all the food gets converted into fat.
Okay.
So then ahead in the Adhyayas, Ashtau Nindit means 8 people who always fall sick, who are too fat and too thin. So a fat person looks fat, but actually that person is also malnourished. Because his rasa, rakta, mausa, asti, majja, shukra, the rest of the dhatus are not getting formed properly. Everything is going into fat. So the person is malnourished, na? In short. So I think they knew, our sages knew exactly. So anybody tells me, tell in one word, I can say yes, Agni Madhya.
Yeah. And so then, I also wanted to talk a lot about gut health and gut issues. And now what you said, it really connects to that.
Yes.
Maybe our diseases, they are
Related to the gut. See, the two things which are now related to religion, actually they are philosophical. See, the first thing is fasting. Okay. Now, according to Ayurveda, upas is not only fasting. It's called as langhan. Langhan means shariram laghu karayati iti langhanam. Whatever makes our body light. So that doesn't mean only fasting. You sit in the sun for some time, your body becomes light. You do exercise for an hour, your body becomes light. You skip one meal, your body becomes light. So there are so many ways. You do waman or dhoti, your body becomes light. So there are many ways in which you can do it. It's not just focus on the upas. But people feel lightness means only fasting. So anywhere where your gut or your intestines are kept, give it some rest. So it gets rest, if you eat just one meal a day. Your body gets some rest. And today, whatever snacking we are doing, it has got 6 times more amount of salt than is required by the body. And I don't know how much more sugar. That too I have not counted only. So we are eating more of sugar and salt in between snacking. So we are giving so much pressure on the gut. If we give it a little bit of time to digest and, then it certainly will help us. Give it some rest. Morning, as soon as we wake up, we want to eat something. Why do we want to eat? And we have not exercised. We have not moved our body. After eating our meals, we have just gone to sleep. So how is the food going to go ahead? In the diseases, Madhav Nidan is supposed to be a Nidan, means, diagnostic grantha of Ayurveda. So there is one disease called as Alasak.
Okay.
Alasak means by word, alshi, lazy.
Yes.
So the food remains like lazy in the stomach. Because there is food in the intestines, the stomach feels, abhi isko aur kidhar dalu, idhar hi rehne de. And in the stomach, the food should not rot.
Okay.
Never. The food should only be liquidized and passed on ahead. That is the role of the stomach.
Yeah.
But if it starts rotting in the stomach, then you're in a bad shape. So that's what we are doing to our bodies today.
Yeah. So then how are we really supposed to eat according to Ayurveda? What is, say, the best time, or how are we supposed to really pair our meals according to Ayurveda so that we do not spoil our gut health?
So you know what, like morning you get up at 7 o'clock, so it's time to get up, so I'll eat. Don't do that.
Okay.
See how many hours have passed after your first meal. Wait for a minute. Ask your stomach, am I really hungry? So they tell in the morning when you wake up, have water. Now see what people are doing is drinking like 2 liters of water. That is so wrong. See, water now is cold only. Because if you lit a fire and you pour boiling hot water on it, what happens? The fire gets off.
Yeah.
If you pour cold water also, so water is cold only.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Here in COVID, people are drinking like hot water. I told them don't do that.
Yeah.
It's okay even if you drink cold water, cool water, room temperature water, hot water, doesn't matter. So any water will it will extinguish the fire. What is the fire? The digestion in our body, Agni, as we spoke about.
Yeah.
2 liters of water is going to extinguish your Agni. So don't do that. What I do, I give an analogy that in our body, there are 2 main organs, the kidney and the liver, which keep us fit. Okay. Now, if you compare, the kidney is like a king.
Okay.
It has got many important functions besides just excretion of water. And the liver is a class 4 employee. It must be made to work. What are we doing? Just the opposite. Drinking lots of water. Most people feel flush होने दे, इसके लिए मैं पीती हूँ पानी सुबह 2 liters. I tell them flush मत करो, बेचारे kidneys को थक जाती है. They are not supposed to only flush water.
Yeah.
They are supposed to keep an electrolyte balance, D2, D3. Why is D3 reducing? Kidney को time ही नहीं है D3 to synthesize. वो बेचारा सिर्फ flush कर रहा है. And the liver which needs work, it's becoming lazy. So fatty liver.
Yeah.
See, any person you see, everyone has got fatty liver. Because usko function, usko काम दो, you're not giving it work. And most of the carbohydrates, see, the function, the liver, the water and the food and everything, how it gets converted to fats, proteins and carbohydrate. The body converts even sugars to fats.
Yeah.
If you're just stopping fats is not the solution. You must eat good fats. Drink high fat milk. It has different kind of fat. Whatever you, after you fry anything, throw away the oil so it doesn't get converted to trans fat. If you use pure oil, it's as good as using ghee. So we need to think. There was a patient, I told her, you mix oils. So what she did is, she mixed all the oils in one thing and she said, I said, not that way. When you're cooking Indian food, you have to have oil with a high smoking point. That is groundnut oil or ghee. And as of today, rice bran oil also has a high smoking point, but it is it's not, it's a hydrogenated. It's not just, just we have to use a 3-time just filtered oil. That is the best. And I tell nowadays that kachi dhani ka tel and all is come, but oil that is fortified, WHO has said please fortify your oils in D2 and vitamin A.
Okay.
Because we're not getting enough. Even about salt. People are like, even Ayurveda Acharya says, Sendhav khao, Sendhav khao, Sendhav. I tell everybody, correct. Ayurveda says Sendhav is the best salt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But today, our seas and rivers are not giving us iodine. That is why WHO has said, ki put it in salt, because we put salt in anything that we eat.
Yeah.
So if you're getting iodized Sendhav, do use iodized Sendhav.
Okay.
But otherwise, you must use iodized salt. Logical,
Yeah.
The other factor is sugar and good. Everybody feels good, very good, organic, very nice. I always tell them good is not good. Take short. Because it goes and sticks to the body. Just before, I was just reading, because I teach students also, so I need to sometimes read Charak again and again. So there is an adhyay called as Yajja Purushiya Adhyay. In that they say in the sweet things, the best is Sharkara and the worst is good.
Oh.
Even in the Kanda section, the worst Kanda is aloo, potato. And I was reading it and somewhere down the line, maybe I had forgotten it.
And even ghee, ghee's popularity is growing now. People are talking so much about the importance of ghee. Use it, have it.
Yeah.
How beneficial is ghee
For our body? Sometimes I laugh because, when you want to lose weight, you must always eat oil. Tail makes you lose weight and ghee makes you put on weight. So logically also, I think if people want to lose weight, then how can ghee help? I wonder at times. And I always wonder about fats because I have not yet come to the conclusion of how much fat, But Ayurveda says if you do lot of physical work, then you can digest any sneha. So they say just, very simple, do lot of physical activity. But physical activity, why, it also reduces our stress.
Yeah.
व्यायाम का जो श्लोक इसे व्यायामम कर्म सामर्थ्य दीप्ताग्नि अग्नि को दीपन करता है एंड कर्म का सामर्थ्य करता है. सो कर्म सामर्थ्य मीन्स यू डोंट हैव स्ट्रेस, नो, you do your work in a better way. So simple.
Yeah. And when I was researching about Ayurveda, the main thing that was coming up that I read about were the 3 doshas.
Yes.
And that, the imbalance of that can really dictate our body, how we heal, everything, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
So then now we come to the 3 doshas and saptadhatus, okay? Now dushayanti iti doshaha means the thing that अपने शरीर को मलिन करता है, खराब करता है, is dosha. So according to that definition, so Vata, Pitta and Kapha. But now Vata, Pitta, there's no pure Vata, pure Pitta, pure. There are permutations and combinations. So there could be 64 different prakrutis of a person. Less Vata, medium Pitta, more Kapha. Or ekdam very less Vata, a little bit more Pitta and little bit more Kapha. Depending on the whatever. So your prakrutis can be very different. Now, which dosh and which dushya? Dushya means those saptadhatus. Those are called as the dushyas, means which get maligned by these doshas. The doshas have to spoil something, no?
Yeah.
So what will they spoil? They will spoil the dhatus.
Okay.
So like I said, if Agni, Pitta बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया, then Agni बढ़ गया. So the Jathar-Agni is fine, but Med का Agni बढ़ गया. So wahan that becomes dushit, na? Means that Pitta goes over there and it increases the Meda. So then everything else falters. So your water imbalance. And then again, the theory of osmosis also works a lot, huh? So there, Ayurveda, like how that time maybe they didn't know all these things to put into the principles, like law of conservation of mass, law of conservation of energy, and osmosis very much works in the body. So there is something called, the body is made up of channels. It's called as Srot. Srot means channels. So where will these doshas, they have to go somewhere, na? So there have to be channels from where to go. So then there are 13 srotas from where they go.
Okay.
Then Ayurveda says, see, suppose if I eat a lot of spicy food and you eat a lot of spicy food, you will have different symptoms, I will have different symptoms. Why? So it says, yatra sangaha kha vaigunyat vyadhis tatropajayate. In my body, this channel is wrong, so I will have that kind of disease. In your body, something else is wrong, so you will have that disease. So here I would like to tell all the, viewers that many people think that Ayurveda means home remedies.
Yeah.
It's not like that. Ayurvedic medicines are like actually made. And then, in the beginning, it was just herbs. But like, the whole world is evolving. So then as evolution came into Ayurveda, there came a person called as Nagarjuna, who researched on metals. And then he realized that if I made bhasma of certain metals, it takes the herbs to where I want them to go. So if I want a medicine to work on my brain, if I put the abrak bhasma or bhasma made out of mica, if I put inside it, the medicine goes directly to my brain.
Okay.
So then came Nagarjuna. So then that is a completely different Rasa Shastra.
And when you're talking about these doshas, do each one of them dictate how we fall sick or what kind of disease will we have?
Or our behavior also.
Okay.
Any behavior also is because of our Vata, Pitta and Kapha only. You see a person, if you tell, what shall we do then? Can we do this? Can we do that? They're sort of confused. Then 100% Vata Prakriti. 100%. If me and my students are sitting, we say, this is Vata Prakriti.
And we're born like that?
Yes, we are born with our Prakritis.
Oh.
And the Prakritis are generally, they come from the family only. From the parents, only like a genetic disposition. We can call it a genetic disposition. So the Mool Prakriti doesn't change.
Oh.
So I tell you a joke. When I was studying, my grandmother used to write me letters sometimes and she used to say that Azobanchi Prakriti changli ahe. So then I told her, don't say that. Because the Prakriti is going to remain the same. You should say, Azobanchi Vikruti changli ahe.
Oh.
So we used to laugh about it. She said, I never knew about this. So Prakriti never changes.
Okay.
It's going to remain the same. But Vikruti means what disease that person is going to have is also dictated by that Prakriti. That this person is going to have this kind of a disease.
Okay.
So many a times when young people, some parents are my patients and say young girl, 12, 13 years old, they will say she doesn't have anything, but doctor, will you do Nadi Pariksha? Will you say something?
Yeah.
So then I see the Nadi Pariksha, I can tell them that at 50 or 60, what disease this girl is going to have. In short. If she doesn't take care, she might even cut the process, you know. There are people whom I've advised and they've cut the process.
Oh.
So this Prakruti one can easily make out, and then you can advise them that this would be, you know, and because of the family also. So what we say as genetics, suppose if the family changes their way of eating, then you can cut the process. For example, small example, papad and pickles. Many families are used to having all these things. If you cut it, you cut so many diseases, even sweets.
So though we are born with it, we can also change it.
Yes, we can change it.
So talking about Prakruti and also Vikruti. So how does our body go from a state of Prakruti to Vikruti
Yeah.
where there's imbalance?
Yeah. So whatever we eat, see again, why I said philosophy. In Kathopanishad, there is a dialogue between Nachiketa and Yam. So Yam tells Nachiket that now you have come here, then listen to one thing. Always do what is Shreyaskar, never do what is Preyaskar. Priya, whatever apne ko hota hai, don't do that. It's so easy to drink a coffee with sugar, tastes nice with cream and all. It's so difficult to drink a black coffee or a coffee along with milk but without sugar. But that is Shreyaskar for you. So I tell parents, as your children are growing up, teach them this. Teach them when you see the thali. I had a guest from Sweden. Why Sweden? I'm saying is 6 months dark and 6 months light.
Yeah.
So covered with snow, just white. So for them, colors are so important. So if I ever, when I used to make the thali for her, the first reaction, oh, so colorful. Do we even look at it? We don't have time today to even look at what is being served in our thali.
Yeah.
So first thing is teach your children to see the colors, to notice the colors. Give it 1 second.
And you were also mentioning about Nadi Pariksha, right? And this is something that I've generally heard when I was a child. And I remember this time when we were at a family event and one uncle was telling about the when, you know, he got Nadi Pariksha done. And the doctor was able to even tell that he smokes just by the Nadi Pariksha. He was able to tell, and that was very fascinating to me because I was so little back then. So now I want to know a little bit more about Nadi Pariksha too and how that can tell about our diseases in the future or our health.
See now about smoking.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a secret. It's not only Nadi Pariksha. You see the nails of any smoker, you can say this person smokes. So when we see the Nadi, we see the nails, we see the skin, we touch the body. So we know exactly what's happening. Alcoholic hoga, so the skin is very different. They can easily make out, you know. So usme Nadi is not so, you know, so much helpful. But at times we can tell the blood pressure, we can tell the sugar levels. I can easily tell the sugar levels, like so many years now I'm practicing. Just hold an Nadi and I tell them, you come to the clinic in the evening. So how long ago have you had your cup of tea? Because immediately after the food, 1 hour, the sugar is very high. And then when it comes down after 2 hours, that's why we have to test after 2 hours. In Ayurveda also they knew it, that time maybe the blood test was not there. But the first thing that they say when you digestion starts, it's called as Madhura Avastha Pak. Why do we feel sleepy after we have our food?
Yeah.
Immediately because the food all gets converted to sugar first.
Okay.
Sugar means what, you know? Again, those Agni which I told you, Prithvi and Jal. So those 5 Mahabhuts, the first Prithvi and Jal, the whole food gets converted to Prithvi and Jal. Then comes Vayu, Agni and Akash. So that's why by Nadi Pariksha, you know, what we do is we don't count the pulse. Of course, we do count also, but when we do Nadi Pariksha in general, we don't count it. We see the speed of these 3 fingers. How are you feeling that blood going through your 3 fingers? Is it like a snake? Is it like a frog? Or is it like a swan? These are the first 3. Hamsagati, Sarpagati and Mandukati. These are the first 3 gatis. Hansagati is Kapha, Sarpagati is Vat and Mandukati is Pitta. So these are the first 3 gatis. But after that gati, then again there are some sub-gatis also, you know.
Yeah, got it. And whenever we have any kind of imbalance, what is the best Ayurvedic practice that someone can do at home, say daily, so that their body is at a much better state?
Yeah. So whenever I give lectures and all, I tell these three things you can do according to the seasons. So you know na that at Padwa we eat that kadu limbachi chutney.
Yeah.
But that should not be eaten only on Padwa. Every day from Chaitra, Vaishak, Jeshta, Ashad, 4 months, Vasanta Rutu and Grishma Rutu, you must eat just one neem leaf. Just chew it and eat one neem leaf. You can eat it at any time. Morning you eat one neem leaf, okay, kadwa muh ho jata hai, drink a little water on it, finish. You will be ekdam healthy all those 4 months. What happens in those 4 months? Whatever food we have eaten in the winter we tend to eat more, can digest more and more heavy food. That gets deposited in the body, like I told you, in the form of cough. Now, what happens in the summer in the Himalayas? Snow melts. Same way, whatever we have eaten in the form of cough, it melts. And so it causes cough diseases. So if you eat one neem leaf in those 4 months, it digests the cough. Come rainy season, our body becomes stiff. So suntha, gul and ghee. A little small. Now here you will say why you're saying good. But good should always be eaten with something called roughage. So til gur, shingdana, chikki, or we have chikkis which have roughage in it. So that good is fine to be eaten, but in very small quantity. So here we are talking of a pinch of good. A pinch of suntha powder, dry ginger powder, and a little bit of ghee. Make a small pill, and eat it, chew it and eat it in the morning. Empty stomach with your tea. You will have no joint pains, nothing that happens in those 4 months. Especially in those 4 months, our Agni is the lowest. So it brings it up. Suntha, it brings it up. Then comes the winter. So in the winter, 1 teaspoon of Aula juice.
Yeah.
Every day. Only 1 teaspoon, not 1 glass or anything. And some people don't like it. It's too sour for some people. Put in a little bit of water and drink it.
And again, a lot of the times when people fall sick, it said, oh, you have low immunity. That's why you're falling sick so often. You're getting a cold, cough so often. Low immunity. So why do some people have such low immunity? Because sometimes since they are children, they have low immunity, right? And then how can they help to build their immunity?
Yeah. So immunity again, is dependent on many factors. In short, if you eat homemade fresh food every day, your immunity starts rising slowly. But again, there is, since COVID or during COVID also, people used to drink those kadhas made out of pepper and all these things. So people feel, that masalas increase our immunity. Actually, it's the other way around.
Oh.
Masalas will cause, they will cause sores and injuries inside your body. They will, wounds inside your digestive system. Also, masalas make the food heavier to digest. So according to Ayurveda, there's Krutanna Varga, Akrutanna Varga. So always try to have food which is the lightest, with the lightest of the masalas, lightest of the sneha, lightest of the lowest salt content, lowest sugar content will keep your immunity very high. And the richer food that you eat, then it compromises your immunity. So if a child has a low immunity, the first thing that means the child could be having a tendency of having worms in the stomach. Now you say, how come a child, so in gestational, the mother might be having the tendency, so the child has got the tendency. So we give, Vidangarishta or things made out of Vaudinga. So you remember even in childhood, the water that we give children, we put Vaudinga inside it so that the tendency to have worms reduces in a small child. Because children put anything in their mouth, their nails and biting and all that, that causes the worms to go into their stomach. So this is the immunity. The second main important cause for immunity compromise is today, without telling a woman, if you check her purse, especially a working woman who travels a long distance, she will have paracetamol, some antihistaminic and some painkiller in her purse. And over abuse of these drugs, over abuse of laxatives, like I spoke, people want to have a clear stomach as soon as they wake up.
Yeah.
How is it possible? If you have eaten food at 8 o'clock, you will have a clear stomach at 6 o'clock in the morning. But if you've eaten at 10 o'clock, then 8 o'clock you'll have a clear stomach. So keep that time in mind, na? That's why what they do, they over abuse laxatives. And then they have wounds in their large intestines, could cause IBS, could cause many other problems, other things that, ulcerative colitis or things like that.
This is again something that people really need to know, because every time you fall sick, this is the medicine available, that is the medicine available. Be it's from school. It starts from school, college, and now even office. Yeah. And again, another thing that I was thinking about when you're talking about, the time of sleep and all of that, I am a very early sleeper. I've always been, because my mom put this habit in me that by 9 o'clock lights will be off and I have to sleep. And I used to get very irritated because my friends used to sleep till late at night. But now I appreciate my mother more than ever, because now I realize how much better my life is, because I wake up early and sleep early. But people don't know that. So people are awake till 2 o'clock because people don't know the harm of that.
Exactly.
So what are the best times to sleep and wake up? The best possible times. And also I want to talk about the best times to have our 3 meals of it.
Exactly. So, night by 10:30, you should be fast asleep. So 10 o'clock, all lights have to be off. Then you can get sleep after half an hour, You can have a dim light in which you're reading or something like that. And then you put yourself to sleep. But I say dim light also 9:30 you start reading so that your eyes will close. When people started, all this, I'm a lark and I'm a bat, and I'll say, no, you're a human.
Yeah.
You're not a lark, you're not a bat, you're a human, and human has to go to sleep by 9:30. When that time when there were no lights and people were cooking in candlelight and things like that, they used to go to bed because there was no light. So naturally they used to go to bed. So 9:30 you start dimming the light, read in a small dim light, and go to bed by maximum 10:30. 4:30 is the ideal time you should wake up. So 4:30 you start waking up, don't just pounce out of bed. Stretch a bit, When you get up, stretch your legs and stretch your hands. And then even in the afternoon, don't go to sleep in the afternoon. They say only in Grishma Rutu, when the days are longest, only on those days you're allowed to sleep in the afternoon. Now, meal timings, they've said, they have not given us like a fixed time, but 6 hours to 8 hours your stomach has to be empty. Then that is your meal time. So then how to, tell people? So I tell 12 to 12:30, keep your lunch time. Like say 3 or 4 o'clock, you have a small snack. Or now today, because people have tea and all, or you can take kadhas or you can have tea or whatever you like, And then at night, you have a proper dinner. Now, breakfast also, I tell, if you have exercised, then only you have breakfast.
Okay.
If you have not exercised, a cup of coffee is fine for you.
So you can skip breakfast.
You can skip breakfast. It's not like, you must have breakfast. Who must have breakfast? Who've already, worked out and they've earned their breakfast. If you have not earned your breakfast, then your lunch becomes your breakfast.
Okay, yeah, got it. Because a lot of people say you must have your breakfast. You must step out.
Yeah. So you've woken up in the morning, naturally, your food, you know how it is. People feel that your Agni or your digestion only occurs in the afternoon. We spoke about Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Morning also Vata, Pitta, Kapha have their imbalance. Afternoon they have their different balance. Night they have their different balance. So morning you wake up fine. There is Pitta, it wants something. That's why they tell that have a little bit of water in the morning. Just half a glass of water.
And can Ayurveda really help heal all forms of diseases? Because when we do have modern medicine today,
Yes.
I want to know how Ayurveda can help cure, bigger diseases and issues.
No, see, it's like that. Every pathy has its limitations. So Ayurveda also has its limitations. It cannot cure all diseases.
Yeah.
But now suppose if a patient who is suffering from say cancer comes to me, ki doctor, I'm your patient and you have to cure me. Then I explain to them these things, that some things, like if there's a mechanical defect, say you have hernia. How can medicines cure it? Then we had Sushrut, Dhanvantari and Sushrut were surgeons. Yeah. So they would operate and they would cure you. So certain things have to be operated only. So now, you are taking, say you need to take chemo and radiation. Then how Ayurveda will help you from the side effects. Ayurveda will see to it that the side effects are milder. You're better off taking that treatment. You know,
Yeah.
so that way we can support all the three pathies or can work together. Like I can make a little dietary change in your life, or like by giving you a little of philosophical lecture, I can make you accept and make you better.
Yeah.
You can face
Accept.
your disease
Yeah.
in a better way.
Yeah.
So there are limitations. Like for example, there is a disease like we say jaundice, hepatitis. Hepatitis Ayurveda 100%. I tell people don't go only for allopathy. I will treat you by Ayurveda only, and quickly also. Or even herpes. Ayurveda, within 2 days I can cure you. You don't need to take any antiviral medicine. So there are certain things like fever also. All my patients, many of them who've been with me in this whole journey of my life,
Yeah.
they don't have paracetamol in their house. They will have Mahasudarshan Ganavati, Tribhuvan Kirti, Mahasudarshan Kada. They will have that medicine and fever does get cured.
I was also very keen on knowing how Ayurvedic medicines are prepared.
So like I told you, as Ayurveda started evolving, there came a person called as Nagarjuna who studied all these metals, and he realized that these metals can help the herbs. So when an Ayurvedic medicine, when you say, so nowadays when I give a certificate to my patients, I don't write herbal medicine. Even when we talk about Ayurveda, we say Indian herbal medicine, but they're not all herbs. They are even animal products are used. Like Gomutra is used many times.
Yeah.
Then even like Gugul is used or Shilajit is used. These are different, which, they come from the mountains, and then there are some metals and all also. So now today companies, they don't use those first they used to use that kharal and, like to do that. But now they're all machines to do all these things. And then these bhasmas, which we call, those are, you can say they're the metal, for example, gold. It is completely burnt, and then the ash, it looks like red in color.
Okay.
It's like we can say red or more of my sari. Exactly my sari color is Suvarna Bhasma looks like this.
Oh.
Many people feel, some that's Suvarna Varkha, or how it is that on mithai we used to put first. That was Chandi ka Varkha.
yes.
That is pure silver. It's metal that is beaten down to that thinness. But here it is properly ash. It's made into ash. The whole color of Suvarna Bhasma changes. So gold is which color and the Bhasma is actually this color. So if it is added to certain medicines, then those medicines become highly potent. It goes into, see, like I told you, Rasa, Rakta, Mausa, Meda, Asti, Majja, Shukra. And then there is something called as Oj also. Oj, that is the finer that makes us the healthiest. So if it has to go to that level, then we need to add these bhasmas to the medicines. Especially Rasa Dhatu, if it has to act on Rakta Dhatu and even Shukra Dhatu, we need very potent and good medicines.
Another very big question people have is whether Ayurveda is against eating non-veg food.
Yeah, very nice question.
Yeah.
After my heart, because when I tell people eat non-veg, they say, but Ayurveda, then I tell them, Ayurveda is not a dharma grantha. Religion might be telling you, that don't eat non-veg, but even I question that also. Anyway, whatever we eat, we kill it only and eat. Only the plants ka akrosh or sound we cannot hear. So, like I was telling you in the Yajna Purusha Grantha, it has been said ki if you want to kill your hunger, go to a slaughterhouse. It's there in Charak. Anybody, even a person who is a hardcore non-veg eater, goes to a slaughterhouse, that person will feel like not eating food for some days. Understood, na? So that is called as Vairagya. We call it as Smashan Vairagya also. You can ask the males when they go for to the Smashan, it's for a funeral, for a few times they don't feel like eating. So when they come home, see people keep food and all ready. Even in Christianity, it's called as wake the food, so that, the person feels that we are eating together, and then the person starts eating. So there's nothing religious about it. Actually, it is philosophy. Sushruta has said this thing that, and Charak and all the granthas, if you want to remain healthy, hitahari, mitahari, and ashakahari. Don't eat only shakahar. Eat mausahar also, then you will be healthy. Eat what is good for you, hitahar. And mitahar, always eat less. Don't eat more. Like a mixer. Our stomach is like a mixer. So you have to give some space for it.
So then, according to Ayurveda, what are the best foods that we should have that are easily available today on a daily basis almost,
Yeah.
so that we are healthier?
I tell people, now today, go to the vegetable monger and A to Z buy all the vegetables and put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The same thing I tell people who, proclaim that we are vegetarian or my religion tells me not to eat this. I tell them, you've come to an Ayurvedic doctor, start eating non-veg. I had a patient who has proved this. 110 kilos, she has come to me 3 times to lose weight. She would lose 4-5 kilos, but in 110, 4-5 kilos, and again she would put on. Then she had a deadline that she had to lose weight. Otherwise, there was no way out. So she said, now I've come to you. I said, see, at least you start eating an egg. So she said, and I said, now you've come, just before Navratri. So I said, now you'll start fasting for your Navratri. How will you lose weight? See, fasting, a fat person, when they start fasting, they really need to research on what is fasting. And then only they need to do fasting. If they do the religious fasting, they're 100% going to put on weight. Their metabolic rate is going to fall dull and they will not lose weight. So what happened was she came to me after 15 days, 8 or some 10 kilos down. And she looked thin. She had lost a lot of water also. I said, you're looking thinner, stand on the scale. 10 kilos down. I said, how did you? Because she's 57. Because after 50, the metabolic rate goes dull. Month mein 2 to 3 kilos maximum. If I give some basti and lekhan basti and all I do, then 5 kilos in a month. Otherwise, a person cannot lose so fast. So how have you lost so fast? So she said, doctor, sit down. I have something to tell you. I said, Navratri, I spoke to my God and I said, I'm going to do upas eating eggs. A woman who had never eaten eggs in her life, she started eating 2 eggs morning, evening. And the result was 10 kilos. I said, now you start a little, chicken soup and all, your body will start getting proteins. As your body starts getting proteins, it leaves water and fat that it has retained. The body it was not getting the proteins. Then now what I've done is, I've done 2 charts. Okay, you're vegetarian, you eat this protein. You're non-vegetarian, you eat this protein. So in vegetarian protein, I tell them 1:4. Means 1 part of any grain. You eat gahu, you eat bajra, jowar, millets, buckwheat, or you don't eat anything, you just put sweet potato. Then if you're having a sweet potato, don't eat rice, don't eat chapati. That will be only 1 part. 4 parts will be vegetable, dal and kachumbar. So first in your plate, put vegetable, dal and kachumbar. 1/4 of that, put your chapati.
And we kind of touched upon food and gut issues, even immunity, right? Another very big thing that is happening to people is hair fall and skin related issues. That is the major thing.
Yeah.
And somewhere I feel I can connect that also with digestive issues. It can happen.
It is because of hyperinsulinemia. The hair fall, nutrition is there only, like B12 deficiency most people are suffering from. So B12 hair starts growing back, iron deficiency is there. I've seen now that even the red blood cells are forming in a different way nowadays because of less of activity, less exercise. So if you start exercising and all, then I've seen this, that I've just been to the jungle. So the antelope, the horns, it seems the blood supply and the horns grow faster. So the blood supply to our hair, how will it occur? If you exercise. So if you do the inverted asanas and all that, then your blood supply to your brain is going to improve. So once you exercise, your insulin levels fall. You reduce your carbohydrate content, your insulin levels fall. What happens is body needs whatever digestive juices to digest a certain kind of food. It needs 5 ml, it will send 10 ml. So 5 ml insulin is used. The rest of the 5 ml, what will it do? It will circulate in the blood. It will cause PCOD, acne, facial hair, loss of hair, obesity.
True. These are all very basic things, but people have forgotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we tend to eat outside also. I see whenever I walk, people are hungry. I don't blame them. But you eat an apple, chane shingdane, you can eat those. Or, almonds and cashew nuts, dates, you can carry with you. Eat that when you're hungry. Or sometimes you suppress your hunger also. Tell yourself, I'm going to fast just. I'll just have a glass of water. And this fasting is going to help my body. It's all here, like at times curb that hunger. Let me give my intestines a little bit of rest.
Correct.
So slow down. Slow down a bit. Think.
And then also another thing that I had in mind is that is astrology somewhere connected to Ayurveda?
Yeah, some places it is because there is something called as Mani Mantra Chikitsa. So there are Mantra Chikitsa also. If you ask me, what does the mantra do? All philosophy and all spirituality is in the end for our happiness and our contentment, right? So like I told you, if I tell a person also sit down and tell them that, see, this is mathematically correct. This was supposed to happen to you. So cool down. Let's face it. It works as a mantra also, no? And then if you know a mantra, if you give them the mantra and tell them recite it, then they feel happy. Okay, this is helping. But that is not the complete cure. If a person feels that this mantra has cured me, then let me tell you, no. You were supposed to suffer from that, but your suffering becomes a little easy to go through, to handle and everything. So that astrology does help. Your astrology also will tell you the same thing, na? That your graha is this in this window, this was there, so this was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen. See, God or anything is not Sankhya. The Ayurveda is the main pillar of Ayurveda is Sankhya. So they tell you that God, I will say the word God, is very abused. I will say the creator is not going to ease your, people will go to the temple so that my suffering will be healed. No. The suffering is going to be there. So many of my colleagues also, my friends also, when I was studying also, they would say that you don't believe in all these things. I said, there is a creator. I will not call that person God because that word is very abused. So why are you praying? If you are praying that your suffering should be eased, then you're praying wrongly. The suffering is going to be there. But the way you handle it, that whatever your prayer is there will help you handle it accept it. Samadhan, okay, fine, it's there in the body will handle it.
It was all so interesting, and honestly, I got to learn so much, not just about Ayurveda, but the philosophy behind it, the science, and
it's a whole healing process, of the body. Medicine in general,
true, would say. And thank you so much for coming and making sure this podcast was so holistic and so real. Thank you so much.
I'm also happy that you inquired into this, So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much.